Welcome back. All right, so we got 10 games done. Remember, there was supposed to be 14. On some level, I'm kind of glad there was 10 instead of 14. And on the other level, I'm saying, oh, it's going to get busy later in the year. So, honestly, for some teams, they showed tonight that they are still in contention. And some teams that had to fight back did exactly that. And we'll start with the Islanders and Pittsburgh. The Islanders may look back at this game and say, that's where we could have had them. That's where we could have put Pittsburgh, not necessarily down and out early, but put them below 500, put them at 5-6-1, and had them thinking about it. So, this game started the way that Islander games start. Very fast, few whistles, no shots. And then at 5:39, on the first shot of the game, Cizikas scores from Clutterbuck. And it was a beautiful goal by Cizikas. It was Casey versus Casey, and Casey won because Casey DeSmith couldn't stop the shot. Went right around him. Penguins tried to pressure it around 9 minutes, but the shots were 5-3 for the Islanders halfway through the period. So very well played to that stage. And then Brian Rust scores from Gensel and Crosby at 11:47. Rust had a ton of opportunities the last time these two teams met. And so tonight he tied it up. And it was a nice three-way pass that got it done. Penguins then went for the lead. The Islanders ended up with a power play. There was a 2-on-0 shorthanded for the Penguins. And on the play, Dobson comes back a little too fast and he ran over his own goaltender. It was okay. Varlamov stayed in the game, but for Dobson, maybe don't run your own goaltender over. Pajot would score before the period was out. He scores on the power play from Leddy and Bailey at 16:40. So it's 2-1 for the Islanders after one. The Penguins came out in the second period, and they were good to go. The shots were 3-1 4 minutes in, and then they score at 7:03. Aston Reese making his return after a while out of action. He scores from Bluger at 7:03. Eberle then threw a broken stick at the puck, which caused all of the Penguins to yell because you're not allowed to do that. Eberle just casually skated off the ice too, like I'm going to throw my broken stick at the puck and then I'm just going to skate off like nothing happened. Nope, that's a penalty. Pajot then had a shorthanded break that was denied. So Pajot, pretty good game for him tonight. Third period, Penguins controlling early. 2-on-1, Malkin's shot is deflected aside. Good end-to-end action in the third. Islanders pressed at around the 9-minute mark, and the referees had put the whistles away. And that's obvious by the fact there's only 2 power plays in this entire game. The referees put the whistles away. Like both teams probably could have been called here and there. They decided not to call anything. And then Rust was robbed by Varlamov, but Barzal would score at 13:35. And there you go. The Islanders have a lead. All they got to do is bring it home. And then Matt Martin decided to get Malkin going. And it's funny because Malkin hadn't been that prominent in terms of putting anything in the net to that stage. And there's sort of a Jerome Iginla feel to this. Leave him alone. Don't get him emotionally invested in the play. Malkin has always been a guy who, when he's emotionally invested in the game, he plays better. When he's angry, he plays better. Again, it reminds me of Iginla that way. They pulled a goalie with 1 minute and 25 seconds left. They called the timeout with 35 seconds left. Rust hits the post, but the Penguins continue to rush, and then it's Malkin that ties the game from Letang and Rust at 19:42. So that's why you don't get him emotionally involved. You just leave him alone. Just let Malkin skate around the ice and just not be as invested, because when he is, this is what happens. So we go to overtime. It was a good overtime. Both teams had chances in the overtime. Both goaltenders played well. So we go to the shootout. And who scored the shootout winner? It's Sid the Kid. Sidney Crosby. So your finals 4-3. And that's 6 out of 10 games for Pittsburgh that have gone to overtime. So they're getting their time in this year. 6-5-1 record for them. For the Islanders, 5-4-3. It's another point that slips through their fingers. Could cost them later on in the season. Shots were 10 apiece in the first, 14-6 Pittsburgh in the second, 9-8 Pittsburgh in the third. In the overtime, the Islanders outshoot Pittsburgh 5-2. Final shots 35-29 in favor of the Penguins. Penguins 0 for 1 on the power play. The Islanders 1 for 1. DeSmith, 26 saves on 29 shots. Varlamov, 32 saves on 35 shots. And so good night for Varlamov. Just comes up short. Next up, Tampa and Florida. And of course, before this game, it was announced Stamkos was out. So without Stamkos, it does make a difference. But I don't want to take away from what Florida did tonight, because that's not fair. it is not fair then for me to say, well, yeah, but Stamkos wasn't in, so Stamkos had been in, this game would have been different. Not necessarily. Early chances for the Panthers. Palat then had a chance on a turnover that I call a WTF turnover. Just one of those, what were you thinking kind of things. Verhaeghe gets a chance. The shots were 3-1 for the Panthers 6 minutes in, and it's Frankie Vetrano gets a goal from Owen Tippett at 8:56. So Tampa was definitely out of sorts without Stamkos. I think they had 2 shots in the first half of the period, 3 shots 15 minutes in. Like, this was not the same team. Or the Panthers are defending them very well. So that's how that works. The Panthers press with 6.5 minutes left. Lomberg and Goudreau then had a fight. They just out of nowhere seemingly just said, all right, let's drop the gloves. Verhaeghe to Connolly was a near miss. We go to the second period with Florida up 1-0. In that second period, Gord with a pass. Huberdeau defended on that. So Gord was trying to pass it through to what would have been a certain goal, and Huberdeau with the defensive play. And then he shows he can do the offense too. Wenberg gets the goal from Huberdeau and Hornquist at 8:31. So Hornquist continues his amazing scoring run. The Bolts try to answer. The Panthers with a 2-on-1. Vasilevsky makes the save. Tampa Bay gets a power play. They do score on it. It's point from Palat at 10:55. So that made it 2-1. And it had to be mildly frustrating to Florida because to that stage, they'd controlled the play, and yet it's only a 1-goal lead. Tampa's still in this. And you're always kind of thinking, but it's Tampa, so they can still come back and win this, right? So the Panthers get a power play, and they score on it. It felt like that was a very important moment. Ekblad with the goal from Yandel and Barkov at 12:54. And then Carter Verhaeghe, the former Tampa Bay Lightning, he gets a goal from Wenberg and Ekblad at 14:56. Makes it 4-1. And that was off Chernak and in as well. So the puck luck was working well for Florida in this game. Power play then for the Panthers quickly turns to a 4-on-4. The Bolts get a power play. That carries over into the third. And on that power play in the third, it is point from Hedman at 54 seconds. So Braden Point with 2 power play goals in tonight's game makes it a 4-2 game. Power play then for the Panthers. The shots were 6-3 for the Panthers at 11 minutes, as they were doing a pretty good job of tying this down. That's where they likely missed Stamkos right there. Then we get 4-on-4 play for 2 minutes. Goaltender gets pulled with 3 minutes left. Connolly eventually hits the empty net from Weegar at 19 minutes. Florida moves to 8-1-2. Tampa drops to 9-2-1 with a 5-2 victory for the Florida Panthers. So kudos to the Panthers. Yeah, pretty good game by them. Shots were 8-6 Florida in the first, 11-9 Florida in the second, 9-6 Florida in the third. Final shots 28-21 for the Panthers. Power plays, Tampa goes 2 for 3, Florida goes 1 for 3. Vasilevsky 23 saves on 27 shots. Bobrovsky saves 19 out of 21 at the other end of the ice, and he gets himself another victory. So Bobrovsky's getting wins. That's the important thing in this. Next up, wow. All I have to say is wow. First, this game was delayed by an hour, which meant that I was much more busy for parts of tonight than I should have been, because this game should have been over. So right away, I was kind of like, it's on at 5 o'clock, same time as four other games. Well, there were 3. Anyways, it made my night a little more difficult to follow everything than it would have been otherwise. So the Oilers tonight show that they have turned this around. And Montreal's a really good starting point for them, because Montreal's a team they struggled against in the first 2 games. Tonight, this was great. And what was interesting too was Sarah Nurse was doing the in-studio discussion, and of course, her brother is in the game, so she gets to critique her brother's play, which, as she posted on Instagram, kind of weird. So game on, hour late, a reverse retro night for Montreal. I'm not going to say that Montreal fans won't want them to wear these again, but it's possible after tonight they don't want them to wear them again. Early chance for Draisaitl. Smith and Allen were both sharp early. The Habs press at 3.5 minutes. They're not able to score. And then it's Jujhar Khaira that scores from Archibald and Ennis at 8:27. And what was interesting with this was that in the first period, I thought Montreal played well, but the story of it was Mike Smith. Mike Smith, who hasn't played a lot this year, obviously, played pretty well in this game. And so they come out of the first period with a 1-0 lead. And then in the second, Nurse, and on this goal, they had 2 assists, but I guess they took the assists off because it's an own goal. At 1:27, Nurse is given credit for a goal that basically Weber accidentally banks off his own player and into the net. So As the quote says, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And in tonight's case, the Oilers were kind of a little bit of both. And so that made it 2-0. And from there, it felt like the air went out of the Habs. The shots were 6-4 for the Oilers 9 minutes in. They get a power play. Allen robbed Chase on. Again, Jake Allen had a good game. The Oilers pressed after that power play was over. They're up 2-0 after the second period, and it felt like this is probably done. Early Oilers power play in the third. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins had a chance that went wide. Dangerous power play. It was killed off. But then the Oilers go right back to the power play. And Barrie scores on it at 4:44 from Draisaitl. So that made it 3-0. And at 9 minutes of that period, the Oilers were up 8-5 in shots. So again, while they were better early in the periods than late, later on the Habs would take over in the shots. The Oilers were very good when they had to be. They get the goals early in each period. I mean, 8 minutes is kind of near the middle. But 1:27 here, 4:44 here. And yeah, there's a power play for the Habs. No doing. And it was the only power play Montreal had in the game. So Edmonton goes into Montreal and shuts them out. So now for Montreal, they have back-to-back losses. Suddenly the offense is an issue. They're 8-4-2. And the Oilers are 9-7. And again, I'm not trying to be negative, but it's just, if you look at how they play against teams in the division that are not Vancouver, Montreal's 4-4-1. It is a more spotty record than it is against Vancouver. And Vancouver and Ottawa, they right now are making other teams' records look pretty good, which for the other teams, it's got to make them feel pretty good. But for Canuck fans, they feel less good about the Canucks making other teams feel good about themselves. So for this one tonight, the Oilers, now they're 9-7. This is a really big win for them. And now they go into the weekend with some momentum. And this is something, considering Puljujarvi doesn't play, and the COVID protocol thing comes in, and yet they're not distracted by that. They go out and they play a very good road game. They were outshot in each period, but I don't think that tells the whole story. Montreal outshot them 11-9 in the first, 13-12 in the second, 14-10 in the third. Final shots 38-31 for Montreal. Power plays, Edmonton 1-for-3, Montreal 0-for-1. Smith, 40th shutout of his career, 38 saves. And Allen, 28 saves on 31 shots. Yeah, Montreal looks pretty good. All right, next up. What was this? So, Lankinen. I've talked up Lankinen plenty. And there's good reason for me to talk up Lankinen. Lankinen's been pretty darn good. And tonight, I mean, I know they allowed a lot of shots, but still. Anyways, let's go through it. It was Lankinen versus Korpisalo. Texier had a chance that was denied early on. The shots were 5-3 for the Hawks at 8 minutes. I thought the Hawks played a pretty good game to that stage. Power play for Columbus, and that was 14 in a row that had been killed off by the Chicago Blackhawks penalty kill. Their penalty kill was solid. Tonight it was going to take a hit. We just didn't know it yet. The Hawks then get a power play during their power play. It's a shorthanded marker for Columbus. A sign of things to come. It's Atkinson on the shorthanded goal from Foligno at 12 minutes and 10 seconds. And then Kubalik had some good chances. So while Kubalik's not getting the goals yet that we saw from him last year, he is getting chances. They were stopped by Korpisalo. So we go to the second period. It's a 1-0 lead for Columbus. And then the gates open. At 21 seconds, Mitchell from Kampf, his first NHL goal. And then, Bowden is watching from the bench and thinking, that looks like fun. And so he gets his first from Zadorov and Kane at 1:17. So it's all of a sudden 2-1 for Chicago on two guys getting their first NHL goals back-to-back. Not too shabby. And both of them defensemen. Now, the play was back and forth at around the halfway mark, but Chicago would score again. And it's Suter, another one of these rookies. He gets the goal from Kane and Bowden. So Bowden had a goal and an assist to that stage of the game. And it's only 13:30 into the second period. It's a 3-1 lead. However, Columbus gets the power play, and that big goal scorer they got from Winnipeg ends up getting a goal. Of course, I speak of Jack Roslovic. He gets the power play marker from Domi and Jones at 18 minutes. And again, because secretly I love that Chicago does this, they played Eulogy by Tool. It is the best song to play when the visiting team gets a goal in your rink. It is absolutely easily the best song. It's so perfect that Eulogy plays. Awesome. Then in the last minute, the Hawks get a power play. It carries over into the third period. And in the third period, that power play clicks. It's Kane scoring from DeBrincat at 29 seconds. DeBrincat continues to have just this amazing, amazing run for Chicago. It's just been great to watch. Columbus then tried to answer. Lankinen was making some saves, but Columbus gets the power play. So again, the penalty kill, which had been great for Chicago, nope. Boone Jenner from Atkinson and Stenlund at 6:39. And then, because they said, you know what, that goal scorer we got from Columbus, or from Winnipeg, he's great. We need to get the goal scorer out there again. Roslovic scores again from Atkinson and Stenlund at 7:59. So Atkinson had quite the third period. So it's a lead. Here we go, right? It's a tie game at that stage, right? Let me check. 3-4-1. Yeah, it's a tie game at 4. There was a lot of goals in this game. And then DeBrincat restores the lead from Kane and Bowie at 13:05. So I'm thinking, all right, so I changed the record up here. I think, all right, so Chicago's going to win this. They're going to go to 7-4-4. They're legit. This is going to prove they're legit. And for Columbus, 6-6-3, things are getting a little dicey. No. Del Zotto scores his first as a Columbus Blue Jacket from Atkinson at 17:19. So Atkinson with his third assist of the third period. And then at 18:46, a minute and a half later, if there'd been a full house of fans in this one, they would have gone dead quiet when this happened. It is Stenlund with his third point of the third period from Bjorkstrand at 18:46. So Kevin Stenlund, goal and 2 assists, and Columbus, they win this one 6-5 out of nowhere. So unexpected victories, they count just as much as the other ones. 7-5-3 record now for Columbus. Chicago drops to 6-5-4, and this is 2 points that slipped through their fingers. At the very least, they need to get a point out of this. They didn't. And so, they fall back. Shots in this one, 9-8 Chicago in the first, 18-10 Columbus in the second, 17-7 Columbus in the third. Final shots, 43-26 in favor of Columbus. Chicago, 1 for 2 on the power play. Columbus, 2 for 3. Korpisalo stopped 21 out of 26. Did not have a great game. Chicago didn't take advantage. Lankinen, I thought, played well, probably better than Korpisalo, but he faced 43 shots, and he allowed 6 goals. Saves 37 on that. So, again, for Chicago, that is 2 points that slipped through their fingers tonight. Now I need to change boards. So, with Detroit games now, I have to admit, we're already where I kind of expect them to lose the game. And against Nashville desperately needed this win tonight. Nashville cannot afford to lose against Detroit. We're already at that stage. They come into tonight 5-8. They're in deep trouble if they lose that first game against Detroit and fall to 5-9. Now, Greiss denied Forsberg. I thought Greiss played well tonight. The shots were 5 apiece halfway through. Power play for the Wings. A lot of power plays in this one, comparatively speaking, with some of the other games. Predators then get their turn, and they score on it. It's Ellis from Forsberg and Josi at 14:58. But in the last minute of the first period, the Red Wings show some moxie. It's Fabry scoring from Mantha at 19:25. Now, to the Predators' defense, after that goal is scored, the Predators got a couple of chances before the horn. So they did come down the ice. They did get a couple of opportunities. But it's 1-1 after 1. Second period, power play kind of takes over. Wings get their chance. They don't score on that. Nashville gets another chance. They don't score on that. As many power plays as we had the rest of the way, none of them were able to score. Solid penalty kill by the Wings against the Predators there. Rinne then robbed Mantha. And Duchesne got a goal from Yarncroke and Josi at 19:19. So last minute of the period, Nashville takes the lead. And then 14 seconds later, Stahl scores from Ryan and Nemesnikov. So Bobby Ryan, who's been quiet for the last few weeks, he gets on the board with a helper. Detroit keeps it tied going to the third period. Had to be frustrating for Nashville to have that lead for 14 seconds. They had the lead in the first period for a little over 4 minutes. Third period, Predators with a delay of game. Wings get a power play. Predators then had their chance right after that. And then the Predators had another chance after that. So, again, kind of a penalty parade in this game at times. Shots, though, were only 3-2 for the Predators with 7 minutes left. And it felt like this game could sleepwalk into overtime. The Wings get a power play. Didn't work out. Josi had a chance that was stopped. Greiss had been excellent. And then with 1 minute left in the third period, Dante Fabro from Cunnin and Forsberg. So this is an odd game in that you get 4 goals out of 5 scored in the final minute of the periods. Timeout then by the Wings. They pull the goalie with 55 seconds left, but it wasn't going to happen. So Nashville holds on. They win 3-2. Detroit drops to 3-10-2. They're already looking to next year. The good news for Detroit is there's some real talk amongst general managers about fixing the draft lottery. So there's at least talk about that. Shots were 9-8 in the first in favor of Detroit, 10-7 Detroit in the second. In the third, Nashville outshoots Detroit 8-7. Final shots were 26 each. Power plays, Detroit 0 for 4. Nashville 1 for 4. I'm looking at that. That's not right. That's 26-23. I'm just doing the math in my head. I'm like, that's not right. It's 26-23. And I've even got that underneath here. So let me just go and fix that. 26-23. So yeah, Nashville 1 for 4, Detroit 0 for 4. Grice saves 20 out of 23, and Rinne saves 24 out of 26. Just too good right now, that Pekka Rinne. Here you go. All right, next up. Okay, so Winnipeg. Guys, I'm not going to say that a team wins by luck, but you win by Hellebuck. That's terrible. Forget I said that. So the shots were 4-1 for the Senators 4.5 minutes into this. And I got to admit, I watched way more of this first period than I should have because I was fascinated that Winnipeg came out so flat at home. Senators press, Hellebuck saves. Moore sends pressure. Lowry had a chance on a bad line change for Ottawa. It doesn't go in. Shots were 12-5 for Ottawa at 11 minutes. Senators get a power play. Hellebuck denied Brady Tkachuk. And in the last minute, the Jets got some chances, and it looked like, okay, maybe the Jets are waking up. We had no idea. Second period, off the opening faceoff, Stastny gets a goal from Appleton and Forbert at 8 seconds. And then the Jets would get a power play shortly thereafter. But we end up with a short Sens power play after that, and because they went to a 4-on-4, and then we end up back on 5-on-5. This was not a game, though, that went that direction. I thought for a while, oh, this is going back and forth. No, that was it. Dubois had a pass to the net that was grabbed by Murray. Dubois still not on the score sheet for Winnipeg. I don't think they're overly concerned. I don't think there's any concern about that. He is getting opportunities. DeMello then scores from Connor at 7:53. That's his first goal since March of 2019. So almost 2 full calendar years since Dylan DeMello had his last goal. It's his first as a Winnipeg Jet. Makes it 2-0. That was the ninth shot of the game for Winnipeg. And at that point, I think Ottawa had 24 or 22. It was ridiculous. So they're being outshot 22-9, and they're winning 2-0. Okay. So this is something that both Ottawa and Vancouver have going for them. They can outplay an opponent big time and still look at the score sheet and go, how are we behind in this? So Hellebuck definitely stealing this one. There's a late power play for the Jets, and it scores. Blake Wheeler gets on the board from Stastny and Morrissey at 19:33. So maybe Stastny's heating up again. And it's 3-0 after 2 periods, even though the shots were 27-15 in favor of the Ottawa Senators. Yep. That's the kind of night it was for Ottawa. Third period, Perreault scores from Scheifele at 2:58. And that was where I said, yeah, this is done, and I could go watch other games. The shots were 8-5 for the Senators, 9 minutes in. Norris would break the shutout from Wolanin at 11:42. And then Pionk adds another one for the Jets. That's his first of the season from Scheifele and Ehlers at 13:45. Winnipeg wins this one 5-1. They go to 8-4-1. They won all 4 against the Ottawa Senators. Ottawa, oh, look at that. I guess I'm just an optimist at heart. Let me just fix that. Yeah, I got the 12 and the 2 in the wrong spot. That's okay. It could be 12-2-1 in our hearts, can't they? Yeah, 2-12-1 for Ottawa, and it was a rough night. Let's just put it that way. It was definitely a rough night for them. All right, so the shots in this one were 18-6 Ottawa in the first, 9 apiece in the second, 15-11 Ottawa in the third. Final shots 42-26 for the Senators, who were 0 for 2 on the power play. Winnipeg was 1 for 2. Murray, 12 saves on 15 shots, and then Hogberg had 9 saves on 11 shots when he went in the net. So the goaltending issue, it might be there again. I thought the DeMello shot, I don't know if that one should go in. Hellebuck saved 41 out of 42. There was nothing going in that net. He was spectacular. Next up, Carolina and Dallas. All right. So Dallas is not a good matchup for Carolina. Carolina overmatches Dallas. We can put it that way. And it was weird because at points during this game I thought maybe Dallas is going to end up beating Carolina. No. Reimer versus Hudobin. Power play for the Stars. Aggressive penalty kill by the Canes. Very aggressive penalty kill. Niederreiter and Trocheck had a near miss instance where Niederreiter is trying to pass to him. It almost ends up in the net. Shots were 4-4 8 minutes in. Hintz had a chance that deflected high. Rope Hintz had a very good game for Dallas. Power play then for the Canes. Stars get another power play. Reimer, they mentioned too, that Reimer's career numbers against Dallas are very, very good. And tonight doesn't really change that narrative. Another Canes power play. They score this time. On the power play, it's Aho scoring from Stahl and Trocheck at 16:01. Jordan Stahl continues this amazing run he's been on since returning to the lineup. It's been insane. In the last minute, we get a Stars power play, which leads over into the second. In the second, Pavelski had a prime chance, and he missed on it. So for Pavelski, the red-hot start seems to be cooling off, even though he does get on the board tonight. Stars driving the play, some shot blocks in there as well. Pesek would then score his first as a Dallas Star from Robertson and Gurianov at 5:16. It's a tie game for 30 seconds. 30 seconds later, Jordan Stahl from Svechnikov and Pesce at 5:46. Fantastic pass by Svechnikov. Stahl buries it. Goal and an assist so far. Then the Stars tied it until they didn't because it was challenged as and ruled to be offside. And it was Rope Hintz that got it. So Hintz is like, all right, this is what I want to see players do. That one doesn't count. I'll just go get another one. And he did. He scores from Gurianov and Robertson at 8:25. And Robertson has started putting up points too. So if you're looking for diamonds in the rough right now as a Dallas fan, Robertson's starting to get his opportunities and his points. The Stars get their third power play. They were 1 for 14 against the Canes up till this point. End up 2 for 15. Pavelski scores from Klingberg and Heiskanen at 11:28. Stars get another power play. Dickinson nearly scores, doesn't, and then in the last minute of the period, so again, last minute goals kind of prominent tonight, McGinn scores from Pesce. So that's a bit of a gut punch because it leaves the game tied after 2 periods, where Dallas had a pretty strong second period and probably deserved to come out with the lead, but that's not how it works. Third period, Reimer denied Como, and then Niederreiter on a breakaway from Hamilton and Trocheck at 3:58. Beautiful goal. Just filthy goal by Niederreiter. He likes playing against the Dallas Stars. They even mentioned how Swiss-born players seem to do really well against Dallas, which is odd because there aren't that many Swiss-born NHLers, but they all seem to score against Dallas. Kiviranta then had a near miss. Reimer had some game savers in the second half of that period. With 4:05 left, the Canes get a power play, and that's all you have to do is just take 2 minutes off the clock. Goalie pull with 1 minute and 30 seconds left, which allows Warren Fogle to add the empty netter to make it 5-3 from Aho at 19:06. Carolina goes to 8-3. And yes, Dallas officially, concern is there. They're now 5-3-3. The distance between themselves and other teams in the division no longer is there. And they're starting to really lose ground now in Carolina, especially when you consider if teams don't all play the same number of games and if there's all kinds of games that are canceled at the end, it'll go by winning percentage. Right now, Carolina has a pretty large lead with winning percentage over Dallas. Shots in this one, 13-9 for Carolina in the first, 18-10 Dallas in the second, and 10-9 Dallas in the third. Final shots, 37-32 in favor of the Dallas Stars. Power plays, Carolina 1 for 3, Dallas 1 for 5. Reimer saves 34 out of 37, and Hudobin, 27 saves on 31 shots. I thought he played well. It's just Carolina has this ability to beat Dallas that, well, it's still there. It's still a thing. It's still an issue. And for Dallas, they're going to see these guys again 5 more times. They've got to figure out a way to beat Carolina. And they've got to figure it out, I'll say, in the next game, because we're already into a territory here where Dallas is in some trouble. But we'll see what happens, right? All right. Let's go ahead and go to the next board. So I remember a few games ago, what was it, 4 games ago now against Montreal, Vancouver played a decent game and they lost. Then there was the one game against Toronto. Vancouver played a decent game and they lost. When these games happen, Canuck fans say, hey, don't be too hard on them because they were good. They just lost. Well, tonight, the Canucks were pretty good and they lost. So this is now 6 in a row. And during that 6-game losing streak, this team has scored 11 goals. So, looking pretty good out there is not going to get it done. Lunar New Year, they had their pregame for this. I do enjoy the Lunar New Year pregame. It's an expensive game to go to usually as well. And the jerseys, they want $688 for the jerseys. This is not game worn either. They want $688 for practice jersey. I understand they're made nicely and they're made in Canada and everything, but they're not signed by players. They want $688. It's just, no. I'll get a t-shirt. The t-shirt I've been wearing all day under here is the Chinese New Year one I got last year. So, yeah, they did the Lunar New Year pregame. This, of course, being the first of 4 meetings in a row between Calgary and Vancouver. So Calgary is the team that could very well just pour dirt on what's remaining of the Canucks season already. We're basically 25% of the way into the season. And, yeah. Early Canucks power play, and Markstrom denied Hughes. Good chance for Quinn Hughes, and Markstrom automatically said, I can play really well in Vancouver. Shots were 7-2 Canucks at 6 minutes. Pettersson denied in close. And, yeah, Markstrom's trying to steal one. He wants to steal one from his former team. Who doesn't? Flames get a power play. They don't score on it, but as it expires, Giordano scores from Monahan and Lindholm at 18:35. So technically, the Canucks penalty kill tonight was really good. Realistically, it wasn't. Second period, Bailey made his exit. Looked like it was a shoulder injury. No idea how long he's going to be out, but I'm pretty sure he didn't return to the game. Monahan nearly made it 2-0. The Canucks get a power play. They don't score on it, but they end up getting a goal. It's Besser from Pettersson at 6:31. That's Besser's 10th of the season. At least Besser's getting goals still, right? Demko then denied Monahan. Markstrom robbed Gaudette at the other end of the ice as the goalies were having a duel with one another. Power play then for the Flames. Myers took a shot off the hand. And that made the power play a little more dangerous because then it's 5-on-3.5, right? As Myers couldn't play at all. But Mangiapane scores from Giordano and Valimaki at 14:31. It's not a power play goal, technically. But the player who came out of the box hadn't got back into the play, so it's like 2 seconds after the power play ended. Myers would stay in the game. So there you go. Myers stays in the game. Höglander, some magic by him. It drew a power play for the Canucks. Did not succeed, and then things get kind of scrummy in the last minute on a play by Myers that drew a crowd, put Myers in the penalty box, but they were offsetting penalties there. Mangiapane was going to the box before that. Third period, things get kind of scrummy early in the period as well, so the dislike between these teams is palpable. Fourth Canucks power play, it doesn't score, because of course not, and then Gaudreau scores from Monahan at 5:58, and yeah, this is the Markstrom steal versus the Canucks. This is how this works. Power play then for the Flames, some turnovers by the Canucks as they got into some bad habits in that third period. The turnovers that really hadn't been as prominent in the first 2 periods got kind of prominent in the third period as they were trying to force things. Goalie pull with 2 minutes left. It's unsuccessful. The Canucks lose this one 3-1. Calgary goes to 7-5-1. Vancouver goes to 6-11. They were 0-9 when they allowed the first goal. They are now 0-10 when they allow the first goal of the game. Notice they're 6-1 when they score first. So it makes a huge difference. And so these teams will play again on Saturday. It's the late game on Saturday for Hockey Day in Canada. Shots in this one, 14-8 Vancouver in the first, 10-6 Vancouver in the second. In the third, Calgary outshot them 12-10 to take it home. Final shots, 34-26 for Vancouver. Power plays, Calgary 0-3, Vancouver 0-4. Markstrom saved 33 out of 34. Demko saved 23 out of 26. And just for giggles, Tanev, 20 minutes and 19 seconds played and a +1. Josh Levo, 9 minutes and 27 seconds for him. Nate Schmidt was a -2 tonight, as was Jordy Ben. So there's your difference right there. Tanev, solid defensively. out there being a bit of a disturber for the Calgary Flames. Some good shot blocking, good play by him. And the replacement in the top 4, which would be Nate Schmidt, a -2 on the night. Had some opportunities, but still, -2 on the night. All right, moving along. Anaheim. All right. So we need to talk about this. I mentioned it on Twitter and I mentioned it on Instagram, and I'm going to mention it here because I took a picture of just the first period notes. So I don't like it. I want to say this straight. I'm going to say why. If Vegas wants to wear gold helmets, okay. With the gray jerseys, it doesn't work. And the chrome, really shiny helmets look ridiculous. And in a way that white gloves have looked ridiculous, white skates have looked ridiculous in NHL history, there's been some looks that just don't work. Now, based on the 0 here, maybe we don't see it again, right? Gold helmets. It's the first note on the board. First thing I noticed. I'm scrolling around, I'm like, wait, what is this? I can't say exactly what word I used, but it ends in ERY. And what is this? So early chances for the Ducks. The shots were 3-0 in their favor at 6 minutes, and I put seriously gold helmets because it just I can't not notice that. Shots were 8-2 for the Ducks with 6 minutes left. Vegas gets a power play, and then I put who said, "Hey, gold helmets." Somebody at a meeting somewhere said, "Wear these with our regular jerseys. They'll really pop," and they make your eyeballs pop out of your head. So second period, early pressure by Vegas. The Ducks in second periods are a +3. The Ducks have had a very rough go of it in terms of goals for and goals against. So being a +3 in the second period is pretty good for them. Power play for the gold helmets for Vegas. 11 seconds, then a 4-on-4, and the Ducks get a power play. And it's a 10-minute misconduct from Marchessault. So it was an interesting point that was brought up by Brian Hayward and the Ducks crew. I was watching the Ducks feed, which is that, he takes the penalty and then Marchessault fires the puck down the ice. So they're like, well, the refs don't like that, so there's going to be some kind of penalty. Now, if it's unsportsmanlike conduct, it's 2 minutes, right? And it's a power play. That's double minor. But because it's a 10-minute misconduct, there's no advantage coming out of that. My answer to that is technically no, and yet Vegas didn't have Marchessault for 10 minutes. Although maybe that was better for them. It is a debate that I think could be had, is maybe when a guy gets a 10-minute misconduct in a situation like that, have it that the team's shorthanded for 2 of those 10 minutes. Not the full 10, obviously, but 2. Ducks power play was ineffective. The funny thing is that Hayward then after saying, I had some really good looks. That was a really good power play. And I thought, did we watch the same power play? Best Ducks game, I thought, though, against Vegas in 2021. Of the 4 they've played against Vegas, I thought this was their best game. Gibson stopped a chance for Tuck, but as we go to the third period, all I kept thinking was, okay, Vegas has played pretty poorly at home because Anaheim has played them so tight. This third period, this is where Vegas usually will come out and get the win. Where despite maybe they've ceded the first 40 minutes, it's a tie game. Vegas just needs to win that third period. And I thought the Ducks really, really desperately needed this win. This was big. Gibson with a freeze on a point shot. Vegas then takes a 2-minute men on the ice call. Ducks get a power play, and it was ineffective. I think they had one shot on that one. They had one shot on the first power play as well. There was a near break then for Jones, and Coughlin defended it. And he defended it without taking a penalty, and that's the key thing. You can defend it, but if you can defend it without ending up in the box, that's an even bigger deal. Getzlaf with a breakaway. It was stopped. It went off of his stick anyways, but still, nice save by Fleury. Shots were 5-2 for Vegas, 7 minutes into the period. So this is where I expected Vegas to be the better team, maybe steal it, right? Comtois then had a chance that deflected high, and he wasn't happy about it. And he showed how unhappy he was about it by getting his 6th goal of the season from Raquel and Fowler at 12 minutes and 18 seconds. So that made it 1-0. And then the Ducks pressed for another. So what impressed me wasn't just that they get the goal on the road. It was that then they went after another. Reeves then had a chance that was tipped wide. Rowney had a chance that was defended well by Pietrangelo. And then they pulled the goalie with 1 minute and 15 seconds left. But they never really got that close to tying this. And so Anaheim steals one in Vegas. They go up to 6-6-3. Vegas drops to 8-2-1. This is their first regulation loss at home for the season. The shots in this one, 13-4, Anaheim in the first. It was quite the first period by Anaheim. And then 8-7 in their favor in the second. Vegas outshoots them 10-7 in the third. Final shots, 28-21 for Anaheim. Both power plays 0 for 2. Gibson, 21 saves for his 22nd career shutout. Kid's fantastic. He really is. And Fleury, 27 saves on 28 shots from Marc-Andre Fleury. He was good. The team in front of him, I mean, they were wearing shiny gold helmets. All I could think is just, I love gold. That's all I could think. Every time I saw them, they just, it's weird. Bizarre. Then I could think, like, why don't the Ducks have helmets with feathers on them? Yeah, we're going to go ridiculous. Let's just throw duck feathers on the duck helmets and kind of shark gills on the sharks, and the Kings can have crowns on top of theirs, and they could just poke guys and they could just duck their head down and poke them with them. That's why you can't have shark fins either. You just hit. Anyways, all right. I might be getting sidetracked. 40-minute video. That's kind of what happens, right? All right. Next up, last up, San Jose and LA. This is a fun little series, and for San Jose, this ended a 12-game road trip. Now, joy, they get to go home and on Saturday play at home against Vegas. So that's your reward. After a 12-game road trip, you get to go home and play a Vegas team that's going to be ticked off because they just got shut out by the Ducks. And for San Jose, not a great game right out of the gate. Kings power play early and they score on it. Kopitar on that power play from Doughty and Brown at 2:47. They continue to turn back the clock. Dustin Brown, Drew Doughty, Anze Kopitar. All three of them have looked very good so far this year. LA's record is not good, but they've been solid. And then Grundstrom scores from Anderson Dolan and Strand at 9 minutes and 25 seconds. I think that's Strand's first point in the NHL. But yeah, so it's 2-0. Power play then for the Sharks. It is unsuccessful. And then Wagner scores from Bjorn Fote at 12 minutes and 42 seconds. So it's 3-0 LA in a game where San Jose's actually played pretty well. It's just every time LA gets near the net, it goes in. Hurdle would answer, though, from Knizov and Vlasic at 16:25. So, yeah, 3-1 LA after one, but at least San Jose gets on the board, right? And they make me say Knizov. So, there you go. Second period, the Kings press at 3 minutes. The Sharks were really on their heels through the first 5 minutes of this one. Power play then for the Kings. The Kings pushed with 7.5 minutes left. Power play for them again as the Kings really built up their momentum. And then we get 1 minute and 8 seconds of 4-on-4. So San Jose gets an abbreviated power play after that. They score on it. It's Hurdle with his second of the night and his fifth of the season from Couture and Carlson at 17:49. And by all means, in the comment section below, let me know if it was his sixth or his seventh or his fourth, because I don't care. I'm pretty sure it was his fifth, and if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter. So yeah, 17:49. And Erik Karlsson, the funny thing is that initially, both the app and in-game, they gave the second assist to Burns. I put Karlsson on the board because Burns doesn't look like a pirate. Burns looks like a homeless person. Karlsson looks like a pirate. So when the guy who looked like a pirate was the one passing it to Couture, I knew it wasn't Burns. That's how I tell them apart. You're a pirate. You're a homeless person. That's how I tell. Third period. Moore had a shot that went high. Peterson with a save as the Sharks did make their push. And they did. Early in that period, they did. But then Anderson Dolan scores from Grundstrom and Moore at 4:51. So Anderson Dolan is starting to get on the board a few times here. And it feels like that offense is picking up. So for the Kings, the future's pretty bright. Kings' score was challenged. And it counts. So Iafallo scores from Kempe and Doughty at 5:58. Oh, here's what happened. I put this in the wrong order. So the Kings score, it's Iafallo from Kempe and Doughty at 5:58. And there was a penalty called after the goal. So it's already going to be a 5-on-4 for the Kings. So looking at the score and saying, well, it's 5-2, the Sharks figure will challenge for goalie interference. And the challenge fails. So you end up with a 5-on-3 for a full 2 minutes. And you're already down 5-2. And then Jeff Carter scores on that power play from Kopitar and Doughty at 6:56. And Jones gets the mercy hook. This wasn't on Jones. This was not on Martin Jones. I know his save percentage wasn't great tonight. Not on Jones. this was just LA surgical in their movements, and it was a 5-on-3 there. This one's a power play goal. Yeah, it's just, this is how the night went for San Jose. And so there's no more scoring. The final score is 6-2 in favor of the Kings. They go to 4-6-3. San Jose drops to 5-6-1 and ends the longest road trip to start a season anybody's ever had. And it's a respectable record after 12 games on the road. We'll see how things work for them at home. Shots in the first, 10-7 San Jose, 12-7 in the second for LA, and 13-12 San Jose in the third. Final shots, 31-30 for the Kings. Power plays, San Jose 1-for-2, LA 2-for-6. So a lot of penalties against San Jose, and it's difficult to fight back when that happens. Jones saved 20 out of 26, and then Melnichuk took over for him and saved all 5 shots. So if you're like, who's Melnichuk? Russian goaltender that backed up Jones tonight, and he gets 5 saves. Peterson saved 28 out of 30. He has a .933 save percentage. I think his save percentage on the season is .926 now. I've talked up Cal Peterson for over 2 years. There's further proof that Cal Peterson's a really good goaltender. So when I've talked for over 2 years about I'm not sure why they don't give Peterson a shot at the starting job, it's not to slam Jonathan Quick. It's because Peterson's kind of one of my favorite Kings. So there you go. You guys are all caught up in tonight's action. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And yeah, the notes on the board. I've talked about this before and talked about it in the Zoom call with patrons on Sunday. And yeah, the notes have been always on the board for me to remind myself of everything that goes on in the game. So like, for instance, Kings score challenge and accounts. And I read that and then I go, wait a minute. No. That was after this. So yeah, I just to remind myself what happened in game. And yet still, in the comment section, there's always, but he didn't mention that. Yeah, he didn't mention this, and he didn't mention this. I mention as much as humanly possible with what my eyeballs see. Because I don't watch, like, highlights on Sportsnet and TSN. I do the review immediately after the games are over. And then I catch highlight reel packages later. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. It means a lot. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, to everybody, too, that came over from the urinating tree video, I apologize that my videos are completely different than what Tree does, but I appreciate those of you that stick around, and I will talk to you again soon.